Hello and welcome back. Yahoo ADPs dropped yesterday, so I've been hard at work trying to put this together. This is a scatter plot looking at ADP on the bottom and then combined rating from the Player Hub on the y-axis, so we can get a sense of where the value lies as it stands right now. Now, obviously, ADPs are going to move as more people start to do mock drafts. This should become more and more accurate over time, but this is a good way to find some value in your draft. Some people get significantly overdrafted because of narrative. Some people get underdrafted because of a narrative, something that comes out of camp, and you can take advantage of that by keeping an eye on these ADPs. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at what the first round looks like. So when we scroll up to the top here, you can get a full breakdown of the players and what their ratings are. And here's no surprise, Connor McDavid at ADP 1. You've got Draisaitl at 2 and Mackinnon at 3. So that's a conversation in and of itself. I think the reason Draisaitl is here is because he's got multiple 50-goal seasons. He's dual position eligible, and he's playing with the number one player overall. Aside from those reasons, I would take Nathan MacKinnon at number 2. So it depends. If you want to build your team out with a center as your first round pick, if you need that dual position eligibility, that's why Draisaitl's at 2. If not, MacKinnon is one of the best players. You can see his rating over here, 81.8. He's above 4 shots per game. Everything is ridiculous when it comes to Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, you can see 1.47 points per game, 100th percentile in assists, shots, and power play points per game. I mean, everything is off the charts when it comes to MacKinnon. So no surprise that he's number 3, but you could definitely make a case for him at number 2. Kucherov at number 4 is slight disrespect. If we look at Kucherov's file, he's pretty much right there with the best of the best. The top 3 guys of them, I mean, you get similar stats out of Nikita Kucherov, and you're getting it at a positional scarcity at the right wing position. So 1.55 points per game, 3.5 shots per game. I mean, you're looking at 100th percentile just about in every category, 121 points last year. So that's why he's obviously number 4. Here's where the conversation starts, and that is Makar at number 5. I don't like that, mainly because you're giving up Kaprizov and Pastrnak and a number of other players that are equally as good, but Kaprizov and Pastrnak put up higher numbers. So Cale Makar, there is no question. He is the best defenseman in fantasy, and he is a generational defenseman. 92 points last year, 30 goals. He had 7 more goals than the next highest goal scoring defenseman. He had 10 more points than the next highest point total for a defenseman. He was 10 goals above the third place guy. Like, he is so far ahead of everybody else in terms of D that it makes sense that they're, finally putting some respect on his name at number 5. I just think Kaprizov and Pastrnak have their same positional scarcity in terms of you're getting a winger at that level. But in terms of what it can provide for your team, you need that elite level offense. And Makar, if he's coming in at 90 points and you could potentially go out and get a guy like Kaprizov or Pastrnak who, maybe put up 120, 130, you're leaving 30, 40 points on the table. So when we look at Kaprizov, 1.37 points per game, 56 points in only 41 games. He's never been over 90, but that's just because he's gotten hurt. He's on a per game level close to some of those elite guys that we just talked about in the top 5, 98th or percentile or better in every single offensive metric. The shot volume is excellent, 3.54. So you're getting, pretty much what you want out of Kaprizov. He's obviously the top guy in Minnesota. Everything runs through him, including that power play. Same thing with Pastrnak. And the thing about Pastrnak is this year, is he going to be surrounded by enough talent? 106 points last year, a full 82 game season, 1.29 points per game. Shot volume is elite level, but it's been even higher than that in the past when he did have players to work with. Now, he elevated Morgan Geekie, that's for sure. He elevated Zaka and some other guys in that lineup to become fantasy relevant. But at the same time, he needs somebody who he can play with. Kucherov has point. You've got MacKinnon with Makar. You've got, 2 of those guys, 2 Edmonton guys, 2 Colorado guys in the top 5 players on fantasy. That's crazy, but that shows you that they have elite level exposure. Here, Kaprizov doesn't really have it. He has a little bit of it, a little bit more of it than Pastrnak, but Pastrnak is really struggling in terms of team exposure. Now, up at number 8 is where the conversation kind of obviously deviates, and I definitely would not put a goaltender in the first round, period, let alone, I mean, Connor Hellebuyck is the number one goaltender in fantasy. He should be considered this high in terms of the respect that you put on his name. He's been elite level for the past 5 to 7 years, and we will go into a deeper dive to back that up. But we know what we just went through with the points league analysis, with the category league analysis. You don't take a goalie in the first round. That's been a staple of this channel since the beginning. Austin Matthews here in the 9 spot is pretty good value. You're getting a guy who's coming off of a down year, a guy who is obviously a 60 goal scorer. He did lose Mitch Marner. I'm going to pull up his file here, but even with Marner gone, he's been a goal scorer. He's been a guy with elite level shot volume. 78 points last year in 67 games, 33 goals, 45 assists, 3.9 shots per game is crazy. I believe he's top 3 in the league in that metric. So you're still getting a guy who has room to improve based on that injury history, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not that he's never been healthy, but he hasn't been healthy in the last couple of seasons. And when he has been healthy, he's been elite level, and you know what you're going to get out of him. An extremely talented goal scorer. And then he just lost his running mate, Mikko Rantanen. So this is an interesting file in and of itself, because Rantanen comes over to a new team. He had an incredible season last year when you take into account that he's left the team he's always been with for 9 years, I think it was, moved over to Carolina, had maybe a month in Carolina, and then goes on to Dallas. So a lot of change and upheaval in his basically life, but in his career. Also 88 points in 82 games, over a point per game, 1.07 points per game. So Rantanen, even in a down year where there's some uncertainty, he's still 3 shots per game. He's still above a point per game player. He, I think, dual eligible. You can see here, these are up-to-date Yahoo positions. So you get some dual eligibility in the back end of the first round. Quinn Hughes, I think this is a little bit of a reach. But before we go on a little bit further down, this is Brady Tkachuk. That's value on him. Quinn Hughes, we just talked about Makar. This is where I would put Makar in this range, as he usually is, and then I drop Hughes down a little bit. But now, as we start to get outside the first round, let's take a look visually at what this looks like on the Scatterplot. So what you can see here is with the goaltending, and this is why I have to do this separately, because goaltending ratings are not the same as regular ratings. So we do have a filter to remove the goaltenders, and so we will get a little bit of a better picture at just the skaters. But you can tell there are 3 goaltenders in the first couple of rounds, which we'll go over in the goaltending section of this video. But as we scroll down and bring it back down to what we're looking at, you can see Mackinnon really high. You can see Brady Tkachuk. He's elite level in terms of category leagues. There's no other forwards out there that are putting up those level of hits and shot volume. 4.11 shots per game and 3.1 hits per game. And on top of that, he is relatively close to a point per game. He was under it last year, 55 points and 72, 29 goals. But we know he has that in him, and we know that he is motivated. We saw him last year at the Four Nations. He wanted to be in the playoffs extremely badly. They made the playoffs. They were a quick exit, but they are an up-and-coming team, and he is on a mission this year. He's probably going to the Olympics. That's the only word of caution with a lot of these first-round picks. They're all going to the Olympics, so keep that in mind as we move forward in the video and try to find some guys who maybe aren't going. But as we move it down, you can see here's Matthews, here's Kucherov, here's Pastrnak, Kaprizov. You've got McKinnon, McDavid, Makar, all these guys in this cluster. But when we look at value, what I'm looking at here is Filip Forsberg, ADP 28. So obviously Nashville is not necessarily going to be a team you want to pick players from in fantasy. They didn't have a good offense last year, and their defense let their goaltending down a lot. And we'll get into Juuse Saros and how far down he is this year. But still, last year, in a down year, 31 goals, 76 points, 82 games played. So he was really healthy last year. And you got 0.93 point per game, 3.4 shots per game, 1 hit per game, elite level power play and offensive metrics. So you're still getting a really complete category league player. He's going to be good in points leagues because he covers all those categories, and you're getting him at value. What is that? ADP 28, which is crazy. Similarly, Ovechkin is reasonably priced here, but you also have Matthew Tkachuk. This is a conversation that we have to talk about. Brady up here, Matthew down here, because a little bit less profile in terms of category coverage. But Matthew Tkachuk is out until January. So what does that mean in terms of his draft positioning? So he's a 1.1 point per game player. He's 1.6 hit per game player, a 3-shot per game player, everything that you would want. And if you were getting him at 19 overall and he was healthy, that would be insane. So I would imagine as ADPs continue to evolve, he will flow backwards towards this range. And the question is, where does he become value? I think you're looking at 5th round plus to try to find some value on him. Up until that, we'll get into the 30s and 40s if we want to scroll down to the table again. But there are some excellent picks in the 30s and 40s in ADP right now. So to pass up on a guy who's definitely going to be in your lineup for maybe 82 games, for a guy who may be in your lineup later on, it's tough to pay a 2nd round price for that. So I think this is way too high for Matthew Tkachuk, but I do like the idea of stashing him in the 5th to 8th round range if you can, let his ADP drop there. But a couple other guys here, excellent value on Jack Hughes. Again, small sample size. He hasn't been healthy. I think he's had one season where he was close to 82 games, and that was like 78 games, but definitely not healthy last year. That definitely hurt me. I drafted him in a couple different leagues. So it didn't work out. He's always dealing with shoulder issues, which is a problem, that it's a recurring thing. But with all of that said, 1.13 points per game, 70 points in 62 games, the elite level shot volume, 3.69. He can go off for 8 and 9 shot games. He can go off for multiple goal games. He's an extremely good goal scorer. He's a setup guy. He's a staple on that power play, almost half a power play point per game. So to get him at 27 is excellent value. Him and Forsberg seem to be the most valuable guys here in terms of this range. Now, we'll find some more value here. You can see Seth Jarvis at 82 ADP, which is crazy. 0.92 point per game, 2.79 shots per game, 1.27 hits per game. He's on that power play. He's one of their offensive drivers at this point, and you can see they're 3 position eligible: center, left wing, right wing. To get that at ADP 82 is nuts. I assume he's going to move up as things move along here. Timo Meier at 99. Look, I get it. He had 53 points in 80 games last year, 26 goals, 27 assists, and only 13 power play points. So he's not prolific there, but the shot volume, 3 shots per game, 0.33 goals per game, 1.76 hits per game, a couple of blocks. Like, he's extremely complete. That's why he's a 70 in terms of the combined rating. That's why he's so high up on this scatter plot. And to get him this late, I mean, that's extremely late. ADP 99. Last year, he was a 3rd or 4th round pick, and I don't know exactly why he fell. He turned it on towards the back half of the year. Maybe he was a little cold in the beginning, but there's still some value there. Now, up here is Gabe Landeskog. I don't have his file. The last time he played in the regular season was 21-22. That's what this is based off of, and he was above a point per game player then. I would not expect that from Landeskog. I would still treat him as an injury stash if you want to pick him up in the 16th round, but I definitely wouldn't count on this level of production. Now, when we look at some of the guys below, I'll go over a couple of these. We'll get into this in a little bit more detail with the D, but Lane Hutson at 53 is too high, in my opinion. So when we look at his file, you obviously know that he is a very offensive defenseman, really good on that power play. 66 points last year, 60 assists. So very high in terms of assists, very high in power play points, and even pretty good in blocks, a block and a half per game. But you cannot tolerate the hits this low, the shots at 1.1, and then only 6 goals in 82 games. He was very durable. I like to see that, but only 6 goals, 1.1 shots per game, and a half a hit per game. If you're in a category league, you kind of have to stay away or at least treat him as a D3. If you're in a points league, you got to fill out your roster with other guys. Same with category leagues. You need those peripherals, those things that he's not going to get. You got to fill them in with your other guys. And in order to do that, you would probably have to pay a premium on another defenseman. So ADP 53 for your D2, it's a little rich. I could definitely see some people taking it and betting on upside. I could definitely see that paying out because he is an extremely talented defenseman. But as it stands right now, I'm going to stay away at 53. So do as you will and, tread on at your own peril with that one. But let's take a brief detour and take a look at just the defenseman since we were just talking about Lane Hutson. So when we filter to just D, to me, this kind of breaks out like this. There's this line right here that goes kind of all the way through this data, and anything above is better for category leagues. Anything below is good for both, but a little bit more points driven. So when we look at Makar, excellent for everything, but obviously the category coverage that he has is great. Then you've got Zach Werenski. He had a coming out party. The only thing he doesn't do is hit. Both of these guys don't really hit, but everything else is an extremely high percentile in terms of category coverage. Dahlin, same type of thing. He's extremely complete as well. And then you get these guys that are the points league guys. Quinn Hughes, very assist heavy, but he did pick up his shot volume and his hitting. You've got Bouchard, you've got Hedman, you've got Josh Morrissey, Lane Hutson. Morrissey's a little bit more complete, but a little bit less of a high profile offensive ceiling. Hutson is the opposite. And so basically, Mackenzie Weegar is going after Lane Hutson. If I'm in a category league, I would rather have Mackenzie Weegar, and this is why. 2.37 blocks per game, 2.75 hits per game, 0.26 power play points per game, 2.27 shots per game. Elite level, not in any one particular thing other than the hits and blocks, but extremely complete across the board. The only thing he doesn't do at an elite level is goal scoring, 8 goals last year, but he has had I think a 15 or 16 goal season in the past. So it's in that profile somewhere. He just didn't pull it out last year, but everything else he's extremely complete. So I would rather have that in a category league at ADP 53 than Lane Hutson, just given what we talked about in the category league breakdown video, which if you haven't seen yet, go and check that out in the description below. There's also Roman Josi at 73. This is unheard of to think of Roman Josi, who's usually a second or maybe third round pick, going at this point in the draft. He did have a down year. He's coming off a bit of an injury-riddled season, 38 points in 53 games, 9 goals, 28 assists, 17 power play points, though. He's 0.32 power play points per game, 2.83 shots per game. The blocks are 94th percentile. So you're getting that profile that you need out of your elite number 1 defenseman. And to think that you could get it in this range, again, I know it's early, ADPs will change, but if this is where he's being priced right now, he's got a long way to go before he's at his actual value. So I like that as well. And you have Mo Seider at 75. And this is kind of a mea culpa on my part, because Seider was a guy that we knew had elite level category coverage, and I just didn't know if he was going to get power play 1. Well, he absolutely did. 24 power play points last year, 2.59 hits per game, 2.21 blocks per game. So kind of the same as Weegar, just a little bit lower shot volume. So very similar profile, a slight edge to Weegar just in terms of last year with the shot volume, but everything else, all signs are pointing in the right direction for Seider in terms of his value. If this is where you're going to get him and he's that complete, definitely all 3 of these guys, and even Dougie Hamilton at ADP 85. He missed some time last year, but 40 points in 64 games, 9 goals, 31 assists, the elite level shot volume, 2.9 shots per game, power play exposure to guys like Jack Hughes, only 15 power play points last year, but again, in 64 games, and they seem to need a right shot on that power play. Luke Hughes looks really good on that power play as well, but there's a lot of lefties, and they need that right shot for those one-timers. So I would think that Dougie Hamilton's going to be the PP1 guy. He adds in 1.1 hits, 1.3 blocks per game, so relatively complete. So getting back onto the theme, all 4 of these guys I would take over Lane Hutson at this point in a category league specifically. And then there's some other guys here too. So Shea Theodore, Adam Fox, Jacob Chychrun. This is a huge overvalue for me, just based on the fact that he's not necessarily the PP1 guy. So I love his file. I think he had elite level shot volume last year, 2.42, not quite elite level, but it's right there. The goal scoring is excellent, 20 goals. He was the 3rd highest defenseman in terms of goal scoring last year. But again, 10 goals behind Cale Makar, which is why you see Makar on the far left. But Chychrun, excellent year. He did get some power play time, got 15 power play points. He does do a little bit of peripheral coverage, but you're also facing potential John Carlson, who's right here at 110, 108. And Carlson is still the PP1 guy. So when we compare the two, Carlson still has that profile that we're looking for with the heavy blocks, 92nd percentile. Power play numbers are a little bit low for what he usually does. 14 power play points is not bad, and you're getting that Ovechkin exposure. 2.1 shots per game is not bad. The assist levels, 95th percentile, 51 points in 79 games last year. So still really good. So the only reason why this is high for me is just he's not the clear number 1. You can see Hudson's the clear number 1, Josi, Seider at this point. Hamilton, I think, is the clear number 1. Weegar, unless Zane Parekh becomes that guy, but I don't know if he's going to be that guy. We'll have to wait and see in training camp. But most of these guys are the number 1. So Sanderson's another case where he probably took that number 1 away from Shabbat. But again, these These guys up at the top, I think, are more category driven. These guys are more points league driven. As we get towards this section of the draft in that 100 range, you get Seth Jones here. You get Jake Wallman, who could be a PP2 guy. You get Neil Pionk, who's maybe a PP2 guy and a pretty good peripheral profile. You've got Charlie McAvoy. You've got Vince Dunn, who's coming off of not a down year, but a little bit of an unassuming year. You got Colton Parayko for hits and blocks. You also have Darnell Nurse a lot further back. We can give you a lot better value than a guy like Parayko. There's a bunch of guys in this range that are all in that kind of narrative where there's something potentially holding them back, but if that thing breaks, you could have a real breakout player. So Luke Hughes at 102, I'd put a flyer on that. Why not? I just mentioned that Dougie Hamilton probably has power play 1, but that doesn't mean they're not going to use Luke Hughes as well. You've got Jackson Lacombe at 109. He's going to be their power play 1 guy. Only 9 power play points last year in 75 games, but 14 goals, 43 points total, and that was a starter kit for him. 24 years old, coming into his own, and their power play should be better than it was last year. Maybe you stick Chris Kreider in front of the net. He tips home a bunch of pucks. That could help Jackson Lacombe. You also have Shane Gostisbehere right here. Now, when we look at his file, it's a lot like Hutson in that there's a bunch of things missing. He does have slightly better shot volume at 1.7 shots per game, but no hits and not much goal scoring. You are getting elite level power play and assist levels, and the blocks are a little bit lower than Lane Hutson. But this is what I'm talking about. If that's the profile you're looking for, you can get Gostisbehere way back here at ADP 117 compared to Lane Hutson at 53. That's the value difference. This should, again, close as we get closer to the season, but just trying to find that initial value and these narratives that are potentially holding some of these guys back. As we look at the goaltending, you can see the guys at the top. Connor Hellebuyck, we talked about. Here's Vasilevsky at 16. He's had a bounce back season. You've got Mackenzie Blackwood, and we need to have a conversation about him. So when we look at his numbers from last year, some of this has the San Jose Sharks data in it. 911 save percentage, 2.6 goals against, 28 wins. He's probably above 30 on a full season with Colorado. 13 goals above expected. Elite level team defense, 84th percentile. Total save volume, again, that might have been helped by San Jose, but still 91st percentile there. 4 shutouts. There's nothing that you don't like about this. The team exposure is great. I do think this is a touch high for Mackenzie Blackwood. I think he comes down just because in this range you want to be grabbing forwards, not goaltending. Same thing for Jake Ottinger. 36 wins, so that's way better than a guy like Blackwood. But again, Blackwood with a full season with Colorado might get to that point, but 912 save percentage, very similar, 2.5 goals against, right around the same total save number, a little bit better. The goal saved above expected at 16, and then the team defense is slightly worse in terms of projected for next year because they did lose a lot of parts, but he's elite level in total save volume, in wins, in save percentage. He's very good. So another really good goaltender that I just won't be drafting because of where he's going. So the only guys here that I will potentially draft are Gustafsson and Shesterkin. So when we look at these two guys, the first guy we'll talk about, Shesterkin, in terms of a 3-year average of his rating, is ranked number 5 on my board. So it's Hellebuyck, Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, and Ottinger. So right off the bat, here's Vasilevsky. There's some value for you at 57. But before we touch on him, here's Shesterkin last year. The team defense was atrocious. That should get a little bit better, if not for just bringing in Gavrikov. They've got Mike Sullivan behind the bench. He can't coach that bad of a defensive team, can he? I mean, I guess he was with Pittsburgh, but he should bring some structure to this team. So this team defense will improve. 92nd percentile, 19 goals saved above expected. Look at the total save volume, 99th percentile, and the save percentage still at 903, which is a little bit above league average. 60 starts last year, elite level start volume, and only 26 wins. That should come up this year. I definitely think the Rangers are going to be better than they were last year. When you look at his trend, he was going all in the right direction until last year. So if the trend just reverses, you're getting an 85 goaltender instead of a 71 goaltender, and you're getting him maybe in the 3rd round, maybe in the 4th round if this ADP kind of hovers around this 34 area. But you also have Filip Gustafsson in this range, which you can go to, and it's a little bit of a better file in terms of what you're looking at on the screen, because last year Minnesota was a really good defensive team, 69th percentile there. Really excellent save volume, 5 shutouts, 914 save percentage, 31 wins in 57 games. So there's nothing not to like. You can see his trend go kind of down, up, so maybe we're expecting a little bit of regression this upcoming season. But if you bake that in, it's still not that bad of a price. 42 is probably right around the range you would maybe start thinking about goaltending if you really want to get out in front of it and get it in the late 3rd, early 4th round, but I don't necessarily recommend that. So as we look at some value, here's Darcy Kemper, ADP 74, which is a little surprising just given the season that he had last year. The team defense was 97th percentile. I expect that to come down a little bit, losing Gavrikov, but he was 21 goals saved above expected, elite level in both of those metrics, 920 save percentage, elite level there, 2.1 goals against, 30 wins in only 49 games. So his win percentage is extremely high. They should still be a really good team. You can see him going from a 47 here where he was not having a good time with Washington all the way up to basically a 90, an 89 here on the Goalie Hub rating. He had 2 seasons around the mid 70s. So if you expect a little bit of regression, which you may, he will still be in this mid 70s range if everything kind of evens out. So his ceiling seems to be 87 or 89. His floor seems to be around 47. So you kind of know where in that range you're going to get out of him in terms of a rating or what he's going to provide for you in fantasy purposes. And at ADP 74, that's really good value, especially with the good defensive team. Now, as we look for some more value, again, I mentioned Sergei Bobrovsky at 57. I have him as the number 2 goaltender in fantasy over the last 3 years, an 81. Now, for reference, Connor Hellebuyck is a 91, so he's that much better. That's why he's listed as a first-round pick, I guess. But for the next best goaltender, you can save yourself about 50 spots of ADP as it stands right now. I would definitely do that. ADP 57 for Bobrovsky might actually make me draft him for the first time in probably 6 years. I've been on this channel saying that I don't like him and I don't like Binnington, but both of those guys are value right now. So as we take a look at Jordan Binnington, he's had a coming out party or maybe a return to form. He had these 2 years where he dipped, so pretty good progression, dipped, still kind of improving, and then improved a lot, and then kind of stayed the same last year. So 27 wins in 55 games, 2.7 goals against is nice. The save percentage is a little bit low, and that you're going to have to deal with. Binnington is not as good as Bobrovsky, so I may not go there, but the team defense, 88th percentile, that's not that bad. 2.82 expected goals against last year. Not much has changed. They did add Cam Fowler. He looked pretty good in the playoffs, so they've got a little bit better blue line. They're getting a little bit more punch offensively with guys like Snuggerud coming in. So this could be a really nice add if you can find him in this 106 range. A couple other guys we can talk about. Freddie Anderson, who I did not talk about in the Carolina video. Forgot to do the goaltending there, but not much has changed, so that's why I didn't really talk about it. Didn't feel the need to. You know what you're going to get out of Freddie Anderson. 911 save percentage is really good. 2.2 goals against is elite level. 13 wins in only 20 games. 13 goals saved above expected. Real good team defense and team exposure. He's just never healthy. So that's why you see all of this. His ceiling is in that high 70s range. His floor is in that 40 to 50 range. So you're honestly kind of better off going with Binnington. At least you'll get some volume there. The save percentage will be worse, but you kind of know what you're going to get. With Freddie Anderson, it's just sort of like you have to pair your entire goaltending strategy around him being on your IR. And then when you look at Kucherov, I do have him. Anderson is listed as my goalie 24. Kucherov is at 16, so he is better, but that's basically just volume. 46 games, 27 wins is pretty good. 2.6 goals against is worse. Save percentage is much worse. Only 2 shutouts in a lot more games for Kucherov. The goal saved above expected is still pretty good. So he's kind of hit or miss. He's really good. He's on a good defensive team, but is he going to show up with the save percentage? One of the things that I've noticed about this team is they limit a lot of scoring chances. So if you're only seeing 20 to 25 shots against per game, it's going to be hard to put up really good save percentage numbers. Anderson seems to be able to do it, but Kucherov, at least last year, it kind of slacked below a league average. So keep that in mind. And here's Kucherov. So you're going to have to pay a premium on him compared to Anderson, and you're basically paying for starts. So keep that in mind as you're looking at Carolina goaltending. Karel Vejmelka seems to be like excellent value at 140. UC Saros at 110 is nuts. So I have him in the last 3-year average at number 9. Obviously a fall from grace the last 2 seasons. So if you look at this trend, 64, 69, 83, 88, 89, and then 72 and down to a 58. Not a good season last year. 895 save percentage. -6 goals saved above expected. Team defense was a lot worse. Total save volume is up, and he's definitely going to get the starts as he always does. The thing that I would be betting on is a bounce back. I would bet money that this is going to come back up even into that mid-70s range. That would still be excellent value if you're getting him here. If you remember from the Category League video, one of our champions won with getting Saros in the 3rd round, and they kind of had to win despite Saros in the 3rd round, but that's where he was going last year. Now he's at ADP 110. That's probably 9th, 10th round range for a lot of 12-team leagues. So to get him there is kind of crazy. Same thing with Jeremy Swayman. Again, same exact type of philosophy here. He's due for a bounce back. Look at this trend, exact straight line all the way up until you get to the point where he became the starter. It's natural. Didn't get a full training camp, I don't believe, because of that contract holdout, all the comments made by Don Sweeney, all that noise entering into the season, and he just didn't start well, and he didn't continue well either. The team defense, they were banged up. They were missing Lindholm and McAvoy at parts. So a lot to be factored into this file. So I would expect their team defense to come up. He was well below expected, but every other year he's been way above expected, if not one of the best in the entire league at that metric. Save volume is crazy. Starts should still be there. Korpisalo's the backup, but I would still see him getting 55 to 58 starts this upcoming season. 22 wins. I don't know how much that comes up, though. Boston is probably going to be one of the bottom teams in the league. At least that's what we looked at in the team previews. Now, another value item here is Thatcher Demko, similar to Freddie Anderson. You know what you're going to get. It's just a lot of injury history and trouble trying to get him into your lineup. I have him as 27, but that is because of the lack of volume. He's an excellent goaltender when he's on his game. 80, 82, 88, one of the best goalies in fantasy, top 5 just a season ago, but last year not healthy, and pretty much every other year not healthy. So if you wanted to be a betting man, up, down, you would think he's going to go back up into that high 80s range, and to get him at 133 would be kind of league winning stuff. If you paired, if you were drafting goalies in this round and you got Saros and Demko, or Swayman, Demko, Vejmelka, any of these combinations of players, Dostal is a starter in this range. You've got Joseph Wall back here. He's 1A, 1B, but there's a bunch of guys in this range right here that seem to be guys that you definitely want to draft, and that matches what we looked at in the Points League video and the Categories League video. So if you haven't checked those out yet, go and visit those. I'm going to link them here, and they're in the description below. That's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you all for watching. Stay tuned. I'll be doing this again in the future, trying to keep track of how these ADPs trend, so stay tuned for the next ADP video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.